Hi everybody, my name is Melissa and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my reading wrap up for the month of November. I read a total of 20 books. I participated in the used bookathon as well as participating and doing a reading vlog for the Buzzwordathon, and I did my own reading challenge vlog for NetGalley ARCs. So I read some absolute favorites of the year during this past month, and I also read some not so favorites. I also of course read a ton of Kindle Unlimited books, which I will let you know if they are a part of that subscription service when I'm talking about them. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first book that I want to talk about is Sins by Candace Wondrak. So this is a Kindle Unlimited book that I really did enjoy. This author is one that I really enjoy a lot of her books, and this is a dark, it's considered a bully romance, but there are some definite triggers. It's pretty dark. This girl has been kidnapped when she was younger, and she kind of is held captive in this room, and she only knows this one person who keeps coming into her room, you know, feeding her, taking care of her, and he always wears this mask. So one day she's let out of her captivity and she finds her way back home. Needless to say, her house is really not that great. Her mother is someone who just doesn't really care about her, and also she's dealing with the fact that she was a news sensation. You know, as soon as she went missing, it was kind of, you know, all over the news that this, you know, young white girl went missing, and she's kind of dealing with that. This is a polyamorous book dealing with the main character and two guys who are actually twins, and yeah, I really did enjoy this. It's definitely on the darker side of things, and I really do like this author when she writes her darker romances. So yeah, definitely a great Kindle Unlimited book if you are interested in picking it up. The second book that I ended up reading was also on Kindle Unlimited, and that is Consequence, which is the start of a new series by G. Bailey and Scarlett Snow. So this is a kind of like reverse harem, betrayal, murder, blackmail kind of thing. So basically the main character, she ends up going to this elite academy. She has a very big secret and someone finds it out, and they end up blackmailing her to make sure that she keeps her secret. She has to, you know, find out what the top 5 guys of this school have done, because they are hiding some pretty shady things, and I believe she has to kill them. So yeah, needless to say, since this is a reverse harem book, some things might get a little confusing, because yeah, if she's supposed to fall in love with them but kill them, I don't know. This is probably a series that I won't continue on, since I did give it 2 stars. The third book that I ended up picking up was also on Kindle Unlimited, and that is called The Queen of Carnage by Candace M. Wright. This is an absolutely ridiculous, but I thoroughly devoured the whole thing very quickly. Reverse harem MC or motorcycle club romance. So the main character, Luna, she ends up going by this one house club place, or the club, and she sees that there is this dog getting abused, and she takes upon herself to save the dog. Unfortunately, the MC finds out that she has stolen their dog, and they end up capturing her, and it's kind of this weird scenario where they need to, you know, prove that they are, you know, not going to take crap from anybody. So she has to stay there and, you know, pay penance for like a year or something like that. And while she's there, there's like 3 guys that she kind of falls for. At the end of the book, you find out she's not everything that you think she is, which was kind of interesting, but just absolutely made no sense at all. But like I said, it was very interesting, and I think I might be, you know, looking forward to continuing on with the next series. And also, like, this cover is pretty cool. Daddy's Dirty Boss by Jade West is an age gap taboo romance. So this has a big age gap, as well as like a schoolgirl uniform fetish, which I'm not sure how I felt about that, but I do like the age gap. This is about a girl named Faith who, her dad ends up getting her a job to intern at his work, and it's basically like split up into divisions, and she wants to go to become a, what is it called? Like an antique auctioneer. So Miles, the guy that is her father's boss, he is one of the best antique auctioneers. I'm not sure what that's called. And she wants to do that. She's always wanted to do that, and she's fascinated, obviously, because he does it. But it turns out she's really good at it, and this was a great coming of age story that I really enjoyed. It had a lot of steamy scenes, and if you are looking for something to like dip your toe into this author, if you're interested, this one is a pretty easy one to get into, and it's not too taboo or crazy. The next 2 books that I'm going to talk about are books that I read for my NetGalley reading challenge. I will leave a link to the vlog down below if you'd like to hear more in-depth thoughts. I will just talk about them very briefly and give you my star rating on them. So So the first one I ended up having to read to continue on with the series, and that's going to be Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. This was an anticipated read for me, and I needed to read this in order to continue on with the ARC that I received from NetGalley. It's a young adult fantasy novel that deals with 3 different characters. The one girl, she has been trained all her life in a very religious sector. Then you have the boy who is the invading country's general, also the prince, and then you have another boy who is kind of a mystery and you don't really know who he is until later on in the book. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars, and yeah, go ahead and check out that reading vlog if you'd like to hear more. The second book that I ended up picking up for this reading vlog was The Guinevere Deception by Kiersten White. This is a book I gave 3 stars to, and yeah, it kind of just didn't live up to my expectations. But this is a King Arthur retelling, and it's based on Guinevere, who really isn't Guinevere. She's actually a witch that was brought in to kind of protect King Arthur, but they do have to get married. So there are some gender-bent characters in this as well. So yeah, go ahead and check out my reading vlog if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts. Love You Now by M. Robinson is the second part in the Love Hurts duet, and I read this as an ARC. And yes, I could not wait to get my hands on the second installment in this duet, and I loved it. So this book is a little bit different than the first one. This follows 3 different timelines, and you kind of see the past, a little bit more in the past, and the present. So yeah, it's very interesting. There are some like tropes in it that aren't really my favorite, but yeah, it's definitely quite interesting, and I'm very excited to see Cash's story, who is one of the side characters in this series, and yeah, she's already writing it and I cannot wait. Dirty Letters by Vi Keeland and Penelope Ward is a Kindle Unlimited book that I ended up giving 4 stars to. I actually put this in my Kindle Unlimited TBR video, and I'm really excited that I got to it. This was kind of similar to Punk 57 in the fact that the 2 characters start off as like pen pals when they're kids up until like when they're teens, and somehow suddenly all of the letters stop. So yeah, this has some heartbreaking things in it. It wasn't as good as Punk 57, but I still really enjoyed it. This book also does deal with a lot of mental health issues: PTSD, depression, anxiety, and agoraphobia. And I had no idea these things were in this book until I actually started reading it. I kind of wish I had known, so I would have been like mentally prepared for it. But either way, this book was pretty good, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Havoc at Prescott High by C.M. Stunich is the first book in a new series by this author. It is a reverse harem bully romance, and it also is on Kindle Unlimited. So this is interesting. So it is a high school bully romance, but the main character, she was actually bullied by this group of guys in the past. So these guys are actually kind of like a gang, I guess, and they're kind of like out for hire. They deal with other stuff as well. But in school, if someone comes to them and asks them to do something for them, like bully someone or whatever the case may be, that person who asks will owe them a favor. At the beginning of this book, our main character, she ends up calling for their help, even though they, you know, traumatized her in the past. And yeah, it's very interesting, and you find out there's more to these boys than just being mean a-holes. And I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't exactly my favorite from this author, and I'm kind of wondering if she's actually going to finish it, because a lot of the times some of her books that I start reading, she doesn't actually finish them. So crossing fingers this will actually get finished. The Promise of Tomorrow is another Kindle Unlimited book that I picked up, and this definitely is a darker kind of romance. It's a reverse harem romance as well, and it deals with a girl who ran away from her home when she was 15 years old because something traumatic happened, and she ran away from someone in her life who was quite dangerous. So she ends up finding a job, and it's a couple years later after running away, and she gets found out by this team of guys who are there in search to find her. And because her stepfather wanted to claim that she was actually dead. So this is a very dark book that deals with rape, it deals with torture, it deals with abuse. So I was entertained by this book. I ended up giving it 3 stars, but it just didn't really stand out to me. I had to like re-look up what this book was about. So yeah. Tainted Blood by Ella B. Andrews is a Kindle Unlimited reverse harem book that is unlike any of the reverse harem books that I've read, because it's based on a zombie apocalypse. So obviously you have your zombies, and then you have groups of people that are still living and don't have the virus, and they've actually created a, shot where some people won't ever be infected by it. But yeah, this is very different from, like I said, I haven't read any kind of zombie books because normally zombies absolutely freak me out, but I was able to get through this one. And so our main character, she has some very special talent. She's not like anybody else, and she like eats raw meat, and she can like hear things better and smell things better than normal people. And she is a part of this group of people who end up like going out and searching and trying to help people and all of that stuff. You kind of see the worst in people as well, you know, when it comes to an apocalypse situation. And I believe this is actually a spin-off from another series of hers, which I haven't read, but I look forward to continuing on with the series. A Torn Page by Elle Rose is another Kindle Unlimited reverse harem book. Obviously you can see a theme here, and I really did enjoy this one. This is about a girl who wakes up one day and she finds out she has special powers. She ends up needing to eat raw meat, so kind of similar, but it's definitely different from the last one that I was talking about. This book also has different paranormal species. You have shifters, you have mages, you have ghouls, vampires. So this girl ends up finding out that she has all these powers. She's trying to live her normal life. You have her, you know, trying to save her family and dealing with all of these new things that are coming at her. I don't want to spoil it because it's not a very long book, but I did really enjoy it, and I actually started reading the sequel to it yesterday. Mafia's Kiss by Darcy Ray is a reverse harem Mafia Kindle Unlimited book, and I kind of enjoyed this one. It was like not exactly what I wanted it to be, but the idea of it sounded really good. So our main character, she ends up coming across a murder that happens, and it's actually the Mafia that is doing the murdering, and she ends up getting taken under the wing of the main guy in the Mafia, and she ends up becoming this escort for them and works at a club, but she's kind of like the favorite. And yeah, so she kind of lives like this cushy life. She drives a nice car and she has her own security team and all this kind of stuff. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to continue on with this series. But yeah, it was interesting. So the next two books I read for the Buzzword Readathon, again, I will leave a link to the vlog down below so you can check out my in-depth thoughts about it. And I definitely had a lot of thoughts about this next book, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I mean, after going back and watching other people's more in-depth reviews, I can kind of like see where they were coming from, but it just wasn't exactly for me. Maybe this author and me just don't really work out. This is about a girl whose name is Alex, or Galaxy, and she ends up getting into Yale, and she kind of becomes a part of this like secret society that deals with magic. This is a dual timeline book, and you kind of flip back and forth, and there's several different mysteries in this book, and obviously some of them get solved, but one of them doesn't, and that's the one that I really wanted to find out what was going to happen. So I do think I'm going to continue on with the series, even though this book I didn't give the highest rating to. So this next book I gave 5 stars to, and I absolutely loved it, and that is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. I love this book. I love this author. This trilogy is amazing, and if you haven't read The Cruel Prince, please do. She is the queen of fae, and oh my goodness, like her fae stories are dark. Even though they're young adult, they definitely have a lot of political intrigue. The characters are definitely ones that you love to hate. Even our main character Jude, who is a human who ends up getting taken into this fae world, and she kind of has to learn to, you know, be manipulative in this world because the fae can't lie, but she can. So it's very interesting to see also the wordplay, you know, dealing with the fairy people and, you know, all of that. Also in this last book, you do see some other characters that kind of pop up in and out from her other series and books, which was really cool to see. Next, I read the first 2 books in the, let me double check, Academy of the Elite series, and this is also on Kindle Unlimited, and I believe the 3rd book is out, or it's coming out very soon. Yeah, this one I honestly didn't remember exactly what happened. I read them very, very quickly, and this is about a girl who finds out that she's a mage, and she had no idea she had these special powers. She ends up going to this school and finds out that she is going to be mated to the popular guys in the school. It is a reverse harem paranormal witch type magic series. So yeah, I gave this book 3 stars and I didn't really remember too much about it. Enemies by Tajan is a sports romance book that had so much heart and depth to it. This is a book I gave 5 stars to. I believe it is on Kindle Unlimited, and I freaking love this author. And yes, even though I read an arc of it, it did not sway my opinion at all, and definitely one of like her harder hitting books. So if you want to have some feels, definitely pick this up. So Stone is a football player. He actually is in the NFL, and our main character, she ends up going to the same town in Texas that he's actually in. They used to be best friends when they were little, and something happened and they no longer talk. They no longer have anything to do with each other, and something happens where Stone actually has to reach out to our main character, and yeah, her whole life changes because of it. So this is so good. I love this book so much. I read it in like a day, and if you were looking for something that has to do with sports romance, definitely heartbreaking, you want to shed a few tears, pick this one up. I loved it so much. Cruel Magic is the first book in a series, and I actually continued on at the beginning of December with the next 3, but I read the first one in November, and this is a paranormal reverse harem Kindle Unlimited book, and I did enjoy it. Obviously, I continued on with the series. This is about a girl named Rory who is an ordinary girl, or so she thinks. She lives with her parents who do have magic, and then one day she finds out that those weren't her parents. She was kidnapped as a child. She gets taken into this new school where she finds out she has, parents that ended up dying. And yeah, this whole life she never even knew. So she has to go to this academy and kind of like quickly learn how to use her magic, because the magic that her parents used was like called Joymancers, and basically they use joy to power and fuel their magic. And then you have Fearmancers, which is what she is, and basically those people utilize fear to power their magic. So it's kind of like this good and bad, and realizing not everybody that is good is actually good, and not everybody that should be bad is actually bad. So yeah, I continued on. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this series. I haven't decided yet, but I did read 4 books in it. The very last book I ended up picking up was for the used bookathon, and that is Gabriel's Inferno. So I started reading this book as a reread, and yeah, I picked this up the very first time when I was in my early 20s, right after I finished 50 First Dates, and I was in that kind of like mindset of, the innocent virgin trope and the dark haunted guy who gets adopted by this very rich family, and he has all of these like wounds in him, and he's troubled, and yeah, basically that's exactly what happened in this book, and this just didn't work for me. Again, I think my reading taste as a reader completely changed from my early 20s to my very late 20s now. But yeah, I know it was kind of a bummer, because this is definitely some people's absolute favorite book, or one of their favorites, and they were very excited to see that I was reading it, and I was very excited, but I pushed through and I finished it. But since I found myself like skipping through all of like the kissing scenes and the steamy scenes of this book and just like flipping through them because I just didn't care, I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue on with the second book. Alrighty guys, so that is my November wrap up. Thank you so much for watching and sticking to the end. If you did, I really do appreciate it. If you've read any of these books or have any thoughts or opinions and want to chat about it, I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. And I hope you have a great day and happy reading. Bye!